There it is. That's the one. One of these days, I'm gonna do this without any mistakes. But so there was a little weirdness at the beginning just there, and my mic wasn't working. So because I didn't even have it on. Bat in a thousand. Okay. So welcome to another Road to Rawlhawk. I apologize for the weirdness at the beginning there. Streamlabs didn't like something I was doing. I don't know what it was, but I fixed it. I think. We'll see. So you tell me if this is all messed up. Or don't, just let me talk into the nothingness. It's fine. But anyway, so we didn't have a stream last week, and I was going to update on the website, but I just couldn't get back to it. I was finishing up some school stuff last week. I had to take care of some things, and then ultimately, by the time I got back to doing the live stream, like I would have been getting to my computer just as we were supposed to go live. So it just didn't work the way that I wanted it to, and unfortunately, we weren't able to update last week. But I do plan for an update this coming weekend with a lot more information. For this week in the Road to Rawluck, though, I'm going to cover some more magic item stuff. We had 2 weeks ago we made a magic item. I put it to the community to say, hey, what do you want? And no one said anything, so I just made a weapon, and I didn't finish it because I didn't want this to go for like 2 hours. But I did finish it later. And here, let me switch over to the iPad so we can see all that cool stuff. Wait for that delayed transition. There it goes. Okay, so this was the. Oh, let me turn off animation assist because I don't need that right now. But we're making a magic item, and so this was the weapon we played around with. I didn't really have a plan for this thing when I went into it. I was just sort of scribbling, and once I had the basic shit down, I couldn't decide if it was like ethereal, smoky fire, or if it was like some type of, chitin. And ultimately, I decided it was going to be like this smoky energy thing. And this actually worked pretty well with some of the materials that we have, new item materials. So we have some crafting coming in in Rawlock's Guide to Violence. And one of those materials is... I lost it. Where was it? Phantom Weave. So Phantom Weave is a material that will bypass armor soak, and you're probably like, there's no armor soak in D&D, but there will be when we add all these super cool new armor sets into Rawlix Guide to Violence. 3 of those we tested out a little bit. Others we have tested not publicly, but the Brigandine, Cuirass, and Plated Mail were 3 that we put out to the community as like, hey, playtest this. And we thought they were pretty good, but once we started getting the idea of some damage soak, we decided to add a whole lot more than just the variations of the 3 that we had playtested previously. But speaking of magic items, we posted about sorry. I'm blah 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 blah. My brain trailed off there for a second. Okay, so speaking of magic items, we once again put it to everyone to say, hey, what kind of magic item would you like us to produce this time around? So we posted a couple of polls on Twitter. Follow us if you're not following us there. And people picked medium armor. Oh, they picked armor, and then they picked medium armor. But so I thought this was a good opportunity to make a cuirass. And cuirass are different than breastplate. And I think that a lot of times people, especially in like role-playing games, just kind of equate them together. But a cuirass wraps all the way around, whereas a breastplate is just that. It's just the plate in the front. So I want to make a distinction between those two things because I think having a piece of armor on your back and not having a piece of armor on your back is a world of difference. So cuirass is a little better than some medium armor. It's kind of split the difference, in my opinion, between medium and heavy. At least it is in our book, Rawlix Guide to Violence. Plug. Shameless. And right now, and all of this is of course subject to change, but the cuirass is going to do 15 plus dex. maximum of 1. It does have disadvantage on stealth, and its weight is 30 pounds. So, you know, it's hovering towards the top end of medium armor, the lower end of heavy armor. But the big thing about a lot of these, and we have lots more. I'm pointing at a spreadsheet you can't see. The thing with a lot of these new mundane items and equipment is that we have all these cool new materials that we're gonna be adding in that this stuff could be made out of if you get the materials or if you pay a lot more for them, and they have some innate properties, these materials. And that's something like that, like silver weapons is already a thing in 5th edition, so we don't think this is too far beyond the pale. So we have about 35 materials that we've been playing around with, and we plan to add a whole lot more because we want this to be a big, robust thing. We don't want to have a section that has like 3 new things in it. We want to make sure that anything we put in here has a good chunk of content for you to dig into and adapt and use in your game. Of course, one of the more ridiculous ones, I may have mentioned this before, was Annihilation Stone. What does Annihilation Stone do? Well, Annihilation Stone I believe it's an oily black stone that has some of the properties of a Sphere of Annihilation, and you're like, why would I put that in my game? And well, to that I say, it's not just your players that could have this. The bad guys could have it too. I mean, it's kind of like with the epic magic items the epic spells that we had in the Gemhammer Grimoire. You know, sometimes it's better to use these things as plot devices than necessarily give them to your players. But it's still a cool thing, and there's some drawbacks to trying to wield this thing on your own. So this is definitely some give and take, and definitely not giving this to a first level adventurer. But so the community spoke, and they said medium armor. So I'm going to do the Cuirass. So here I just have a very, very simple, let's drop the opacity down a little bit on this. Just a very simple figure that I threw together. Nothing crazy. And the point of this is to build my armor around. And that way, when I draw the other armors as well, they'll all kind of look like they belong together. And I can kind of arrange them nice on a page in a row so that you can kind of see them all together. And I'm not trying to do something different each time. I need a bright color that's not blue. So let's go with the pink. But what kind of pink? It probably doesn't matter. I like this one. That might be too bright. Are we on the Fat Pencil? Yeah. So Cuirass is, of course, similar to a chest plate, but of course it wraps all the way around to the back. So it's 2 pieces that kind of sandwich in around you. So right out of the gate, you know, we're gonna need something that is covering your chest area, and then, you know, obviously something that's gonna come down here. I'm not sure how far down I want it to come, but you know, something. Obviously, it's gonna have to come out further than the body. Now, the chest plate obviously is going to be more up here, and you'll have the part coming under your arms that will be down here. So right now I'm just trying to sketch out an idea of what kind of the construction of this thing. You know, it's and of course, as always, if any of the viewers have any questions about Heroic Guide to Violence or any of our other content, I am more than willing, more than happy to talk about it. I don't think the idea I had for that was going to be as well as it I'm not sure if I want to give this like pauldrons or not. What do you guys think? You want to see pauldrons on this? I keep tagging this as D&D, and I guess that's right. I'm just thinking like maybe this one should have been tagged as like art or something. Trying to give a little indication that there's like more of this in the back. Let's try the pauldrons. Super bulky. Not sure how I feel about it. It doesn't feel like medium. Well, I suppose it is technically medium armor. You know, because like in the like chest plates are medium armor. You know, so it all kind of lands in the same place. And our Cuirass is is medium armor. So it's because it's on its own. You know, you're gonna wear this on its own. It's not a full set. Full set of armor in the sense that it's like leg armor, etc., etc. It doesn't mean it's not like leather armor. I'm starting to draw on the neck. But I don't know. Yeah. So I'm thinking this here is kind of a metal neck guard, and this is a metal breastplate. The rest of this is leather. That's how I'm kind of envisioning it in my head. And of course, big old straps that come up over the shoulders. And another metal piece, sort of in the back. Though it's super bulky looking. I didn't mean to make it look quite so thick. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's a little looking big for medium armor. These sides don't match. I suppose any armor that you'd be wearing would be pretty big on you. So yeah, it's things are going good with the grimoire. We've got close to 100 magic items planned. We've got all these new materials, which, when you consider the fact that you can, so I think we've got 10 new types of armor, not including shields, kind of built out right now. So we've got about 35 new materials right now. So when you consider, when you consider that there's 35 new materials and then 10 new types of armor, you know, and ultimately, like, that comes out to 350 new magic items in that regard. I don't exactly consider it that way because, like, we're not going to, like, lay out the stat blocks for each one. What we're going to do is we're going to say, like, Brigandine is 13 plus Dex, blah, 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 but if it's made out of this material, obviously not everything can be made out of every material. Like, things that are made out of, like, leaves, you're probably not making heavy armor out of that. Things that are made out of stone, you're probably not getting light armor. Although I suppose you could have, like, little strips of stone. But ultimately, we're gonna have to make a call on what things can and can't be made out of. We'll probably have, like, a table or something. But independent of other magic items, with the inclusion of these new materials, plus the mundane items that we are adding, when you put them together, you get quite a bit with the bang for your buck. That's all wrong. You're gonna want, like, a solid piece. You're gonna want it to deflect. No, because so sure, we'll get the neck guard here. Like, it's gonna do a lot. Kind of like the end of this shape, but I don't think it's as it's going along with the rest of the shape of the armor. Yeah, this is all rough. I'm gonna go over it again. But yeah, the people asked for medium armor, so we're making some, making a Cuirass. Yeah, this cannot too far. This is like leather, it's not like fucking metal. It needs to hug the body a little better. So let's take care of that. These straps are coming out. I think this leather pad in the front would do better to go over the straps. The shape was getting a little too close to the where buckles or something would be anyways. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about Skyrim Islands or any of our other Gemhammer stuff, let us know in the chat. Doing this with all of you, so we'd love to hear from all of you. See what you like. See what you get more info. By the way, I'll be announcing later this week. We'll be launching October 15th. We've kind of said that a few places before, but this is almost certain. October 15th is when you will see the Kickstarter go live. October 15th coming to a Kickstarter near you. Warlock's Guide to Violence. If you like all the more better game stuff we've created in the past, be sure to support us there, so we can keep on making all the more better game stuff that we like to make. See, this is too much. It's much too much. There's the arm. There it is. Is this off center? It is somewhat off center. That's okay. Because I'm going to cheat when it comes time to do the finishing work on it. Since it's so symmetrical, I am almost certainly going to use the mirror tool. Again, give indication that there's a plate in the back. So I'm not as talkative today, but I haven't really got any questions. There's a whole lot of not talking about it, so that's okay. was hoping to have some super cool news to share with you folks this week, but sadly, we're doing something with Livestream. We're going to be doing something with a bunch of folks that stream on the regular. Not like us. We just do that. We're just doing this to create awareness and interact with all of you wonderful internet people that like and support our stuff. So we are not trying to be professional streamers. That's not what we're trying to do here at Gemhammer. That's not what Conor's trying to do at any rate. I don't believe Joe is either. Doesn't seem like what he's out to do. I don't want to speak for him. Maybe he does want to be a professional streamer. You'll have to ask him. The next time he's never been on this, has he? No, he hasn't. That's okay. We'll get him on here one of these days, and he can talk to you about all the cool stuff he does here at Gemhammer. I think this belongs down here. Yep. That's better. Anyway. Kind of imagining some rivets. For the leather pieces, obviously. But maybe they're kind of like this. General, because it needs to be attached to the leather, so that makes sense. Super. Let's try a little something. I mean, I'm probably not gonna finish this. Kind of like how I didn't finish the sword, but let's do green. I was curious if I want this to have pauldrons. Yeah, I don't think so. When I draw some full armor sets for like the magic items, I will do like pauldron stuff. But for this right here, right now, not so much. Yeah, so I was saying, bit of a slow week because I was finishing up some school stuff. I thought it was like all set last week, but there was some stuff I had to take care of for the new semester. My last semester. I'll soon have a fancy graduate degree. Very soon. Working on some capstone stuff. I'm gonna do an animation project. Very excited for that. It'll be very cool. I never post my animation stuff anywhere. I guess I've like been so focused on Gemhammer stuff that like I never post any of that stuff. I very rarely share it with anyone either. You know, I've done like some of the animation stuff for Gemhammer, but not a ton of it. And also like stuff I've done for Gemhammer has been super simple. I want to say it was the Deca Wonder Kickstarter animation. Not that it was heavily animated or anything. I did that when I had the flu. And I like stayed up all night to do it. And my wife was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I had to get done." And she's like, "You could have delayed this like a day." But I get that way sometimes, where like I have an idea in my head of how something is or how it ought to be, with, like especially with a project like this, and I'm just like steamrolling through it. Like I gotta do this, and I gotta do it my way. And off I go. Trying to do it. See, I'm digging this. I do think these parts are a little much. I mean, the problem is ultimately the shape of the guy I drew. You know, it's a bulky dude. So. It does look a little more futuristic than maybe I would like, but actually, see, I'm not even really sure. At any rate, I'm gonna keep going. Oh, I already did that. Let me see. We got blue. We got pink. That's my next color. I'll just go back to green again. Too bright for my eyes to know what on earth I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to go in and some finer detail than the scribbles I have in here right now. This will still be a little scribbly. Let's see. I've already screwed it up because it's too inconsistent. Those don't match. I will, again, be using a mirror tool to clean this up. But yeah, medium armor. I showed you guys the sword that I finished. What was it? What was the material I was going to make it out of? I think I said it. Phantom weave. Oh yeah, we get a long list of materials, and some of these do really cool stuff, and I'm excited. And they have different properties for when you make them out of armor versus when you make them out of, not all of them. Some of them like only have armor properties or shield properties, and some of them only have weapon properties, and some of them have both. You know, it's like when you make a weapon out of it, it does this. When you make a sword out of it, it does this. Magnetite is a new metal we have in here, and I'm pretty excited about that because I think it's pretty cool. The items, like the weapons and the armor that are made out of it, they're magnetic, so they'll be pulled together. So for our perception of self. So, like, you're going to have advantage on attacks against metal armor. What was it? There was advantage on attacks who are wearing metal armor because their armor metal is magnetic and yours is a magnet. Oh, pardon me.
But fluid, like water. Be like water.
Oh yeah, and but you are vulnerable to lightning damage when it's made out of armor. That was the other thing. More susceptible to it. It's kind of how it makes sense in my head. So maybe vulnerable is the wrong way to put it, because vulnerable is a thing in the game, obviously. But you are more susceptible to attacks by lightning damage. Maybe vulnerable makes more sense in that situation, but I don't know. We'll have to consider it. Anyway. Time's 2:40 already. My goodness. See, I've just been dueling this whole time. No one's really. Well, it's not a lot of people in the chat today. Well, it's been true the last couple of weeks. That's okay. I'm gonna keep doing this even if I'm alone in here. Thanks. No, never mind to me. said, I'll clean this up with the mirror later so I don't keep making that mistake. Just make some of this match a little bit more. So this is just a normal Cuirass. It's not going to be like made out of any of the fancy materials that I'm talking about. I was considering doing that, but you know, I haven't like really we haven't really introduced the concept yet, so I don't want to. You know, it's bad enough I'm making a piece of armor that doesn't presently exist in the game, but it will once we add it. It's the great thing. Totally screwed this up. I'm probably going to mirror from this side anyway. So that's okay. There you go. These are the parts that will be metal. And the parts underneath will be like leather. Oh right, this part will be metal as well. So yeah, it's I'm gonna use the same body there to make all of the base armors for Warlock's Guide, so they'll all fit nicely on a page next to each other. Ignore that. The magic is lost. But yeah, so coming up a quarter of. Haven't had a lot of chat, haven't had a lot of discussion. Like I said, I'm probably going to finish this on stream, especially where there's not a lot of people kind of interacting with it and being like, hey, do a this. I think about maybe some like, I don't know, maybe like a cape or something. No, see, like I want to keep these ones clean when I do like the magic item stuff. So I was originally going to make this a magic item. I was going to make it one of the ones from the materials list. Because it will ultimately be like two kinds of, well, there's going to be a lot of different kinds of magic items, but like two kind of separate we're gonna have like traditional lists of magic items, but you know, like I was saying before, you know, we're gonna have like 10 new types of armor, and then all these materials that, you know, right now it's 35. You got 35 new materials in the book. You know, it's 350 new magic items. Well, it's not really 350 because not every material can be made into armor. But you know, they can also be made into weapons. So when you get down to it, it's actually going to be more than that then, because we got all these new weapons as well. So yeah, so those aren't obviously going to have their own stat blocks. It's just going to be left to you to kind of say, okay, well, you have this chest piece that does this, but it also has this special feature because it's made out of this material. But yeah, so I was originally, when I set out to do this, for today, I was going to make it out of material, but we haven't really like talked about that concept super deep, so didn't really make sense at the time. Besides, like, we haven't really talked a whole ton about the new armor. The Brigandine and the Cuirass and the Plated Mail. Those are available for the Lost Lore playtest that we did a few months back. A few weeks back? A few months. So you can check those out if you were so inclined. And we're gonna do more of this. I don't think we're doing any more public playtests. We have, like, obviously a bunch more of this stuff before the Kickstarter goes out. We may do some more Lost Lore playtest stuff during the Kickstarter to kind of like showcase some of the stuff in it. But you know, we're so busy trying to wrap up the book. I'm already starting to do some of the layout. Or I'd already started to do some of the layout, but I'm plugging in more and more stuff. And that's not the only thing we're working on. We're also working on some books, some adventure modules, which is pretty exciting. So hope to be getting that out to people. Maybe at the end of this month there'll be a new adventure module, depending on how some stuff comes in. Waiting on some editorial things to come back. But yeah, it's been a busy week. I didn't go into the last one of these with a very solid plan. This time I didn't go into it with a plan, but I wanted to talk about this stuff first, and I like this more as just a normal piece of armor than necessarily a magic item. But maybe we'll do a magic set of armor on the same template next time, and I'll finish this up for next week. Yeah, so that's Rollock's Guide to Vons Road to Rollock live stream. Just kind of getting people some behind-the-scenes views on some of the stuff we're doing. I think for next week, I don't think we're doing this next week. I think we're talking about... Hopefully I'll be talking about some of that streamer stuff I alluded to earlier. But hopefully I'll be able to get Joe on here and we can talk about some of the more concrete like stuff in the book. Like pick a chapter and actually dig into it. It's a lot of work doing this kind of stuff. It's especially where there's primarily just Joe and I are doing the book stuff. We've talked to a couple artists about coming on board, but art is expensive and Conor is free because I don't get paid by Gemhammer. I just do this because I love it and because I want to see us succeed as a company. So I've never been paid for any of this, and I did almost all the artwork in the Gemhammer Grimoire. I'd say like 95% of the artwork was me, especially when you start to dig into like layout and stuff. So, and I think the Rollock's Guide to Violence is going to land in much the same place. You know, maybe 10 to 20 pieces of artwork will be done by somebody else, depending on if we hit certain stretch goals. Because that's where the money for the artists comes from. Is going to be those stretch goals. Got to make sure we can print the thing first. You know, there's a lot to consider when you get into stuff like the stretch goals and like what is a core feature of the book or what isn't. And I think we've talked about this a little bit before, but it's super interesting to dig into. Like I've learned more about this than I ever did in school doing this kind of stuff. I worked for a small newspaper at one point, and there was a college newspaper, but I went to UMass for the first couple of years of my undergrad, and the school decided to get rid of their newspaper, so they got rid of their newspaper. But But the people running the newspaper were like, no. And they were like, no, we're student club now. And they went and got sponsorships from small companies, and we got paid. And I got paid. So a bunch of people have said, well, it's like a school newspaper. And I was like, no, it wasn't really like a school newspaper. They were like kind of like running their own newspaper. And not that it was like some big, huge thing. I worked for the mass media newspaper. Like, no, not at all. But I've learned more about doing a publication here, doing this, than I ever did working for them. And that was years ago anyway. But I've done some printing and publishing since then, and needless to say that I've learned a whole lot working for Gemhammer. Because there's avenues of the business you don't really get involved with when you're just a layout artist, or you're just a staff artist or something like that. Like I get into all kinds of parts of the business when I'm pretty much running it. So there's a lot. You gotta kind of like sit there and like I want to make the best possible version of this that I ever could. But ultimately, sometimes you gotta like sit there and decide like at this price point, the book can only be so many pages, and so this chapter's gotta go because there's only so many pages to work with. So like you kind of gotta look at all the stuff you want in there and decide what goes in and what goes out.
All right, let's bring that beat back.
There's a lot that we want to put into this book. Like I don't want to put anything into a book that is like, hey, we've got this special feature and there's 2 of them. No. Like we got brand new armor sets and there's 3. No, not at all. No, it's gotta be. We got a substantial chunk of content here. Is the only way that I think that it would be worth putting out. I want people to flip through our books and go, there's a lot in here. This is a lot of content to chew through. I don't want anyone to ever pick up like one of our hardcover books and be like, there's a whole lot of art, a whole lot of nothing. I don't ever want anyone to have that experience. I want them to and while not all the content in our books will appeal to everybody, I always want there to be something in our book that appeals to someone. There'll at least be one thing in the book that everyone can look at and go, that's cool, I want that in my game. I want to give that to my players, or I want to give that to my big bad evil guy, and let my players figure it out. So especially with these materials, I think there's going to be a whole lot of content in here. Because we're at 35 right now, but I think we're going to add more. Because we got into some of these materials that are based on types of enemies. There's leather made out of the hide of mimics that do a cool thing. I'll just tease that out there a little bit. And then after that, we're like, oh, but there's other cool creatures that imagine if, as a non-specific example, you had chitin from the body of a phase spider. What does that do when you make that a weapon? When you make that an armor? So those kinds of cool material properties, unique to the material. I think that's going to be a cool thing. But yeah, so super excited about materials. How that's going to interact with our weapons and stuff. Right now, the magic items we're developing, or have developed so far, aren't using any of those materials. But now we are starting to do that. So they were kind of being the magic items, the core magic items in the book, are flavored around some things in the book, or they're just jokes because we like to do that. Then we were developing the materials separately, and now we've kind of got both in a really good place. We're kind of starting to go back and go what specific magic items can and should we make out of materials. I think people are really going to like this. I think people are going to be really excited when they see just how much we have planned. Because all I've really been talking about here is just the magic item stuff. And I'm 350 new items just from when you take all the shields and armor and the materials and stick them together. Which isn't quite right. There's some math wrong there. But well over 200 at the very least. And then you get into weapons. You know, we're adding a whole bunch of weapons, all kinds of new weapons. Stretch goals will unlock a bunch of them, but generally there's going to be a silly amount of weapons in this, new types of weapons. And then when you consider the new materials that they could be made out of, you know, oh, you've added, you know, this specialized blade weapon, and I'm tired. I'm a very busy guy, and I'm tired. So I can't, unfortunately, think of something off the top of my head, even though I know I was looking at a list of new items earlier today. But let's just say, you know, there's heavy bows were a thing we were doing. So these are bows that don't use dex, they use do they use strength? I think they use strength. Or they either use strength or they're like have a strength requirement or restriction, I should say. But this is like a scorpion bolt, like siege engine, like bow and arrow. This is like it fires a massive bolt and you know, will do more damage to larger creatures. And smaller creatures, you'll have a harder time hitting with it. But like the idea of a giant bow, but that a giant bow that's made of this particular material that imparts some special effects, like what do we got? It's made out of riddled steel, and riddled steel does. Spellcasters are vulnerable to attacks made by riddled steel. And you're probably like, well, riddled steel? What is that, and why are spellcasters vulnerable to it? I get the joke. And if you get the joke, I hope that you will put it in the chat, or if not in the chat, then in the YouTube comments, because it'll live there as well. So if you get the joke, whoever picks out the riddled steel comment and gets the joke and explains it in comments here or on YouTube, then I'll give you a deck of many thanks. Can you beat that? Unbelievable! We'll give away a deck of many thanks. Whoever got that joke, the first person to get that joke. That's what I'm gonna do here today. Maybe we'll do a giveaway next week on this as well. But that's my commitment. Whoever gets the riddled steel joke. But that bow, you know, when you consider that, you know, there's now this cool heavy bow, but now there's also this cool heavy bow that does additional damage against spellcasters, you know, so there's a lot here. That's very exciting stuff. And that's all I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to all the vehicles and the new types of combat, all that stuff. Very excited for everything coming in the book. Hoping to have a nice update so you can see some more of the test pages and some more of the features explained, hopefully this weekend. And maybe we'll talk about them some more in next week's live stream, because you know, it's getting to the end of August now, and we're launching this thing in October. So it's exciting times. It's coming right around the corner. But it is now 3 o'clock, and my ramblings have gone on too long. So I will do this again with all of you next week. Hopefully we get Joe in here to chit-chat with everybody. But if not, you know, I'll be glad to do this with all of you again. And I'll see you guys next week. Have a good one. Bye. I have once again done the transition wrong. At this point, it shouldn't be like a thing that I screw up. It should just be part of the stream. There should just be a thing that comes up since Conor screwed up the transition. Bye.